Hello everyone. Welcome back. Thank you so much for watching the channel, watching the videos. If any of the videos resonates with you, ring a bell, strike a nerve, please leave me a comment. Let's start a conversation. I'd love to hear from you. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and share the videos if you feel like it. So in this video, I want to dive into a topic that for most people is rather difficult. It has to do with losing a loved one, and particularly losing a parent. When you lose a parent, you feel like part of your life, specifically your childhood, kind of crumbles, because your parents, whether it's your mother or your father, of course it also plays a role if you were close to your mother or your father. Maybe you were closer to your mother, maybe you were closer to your father, so that plays a role as well. But let's just take my example here, what I want to share today. I lost my father. He transitioned May 8th, 2020. So that is 6 years ago. So when that happened, even though I was prepared for it, because he had been ill for quite some time. So you know the day is coming. You know the time is coming. But guess what? When it happens, you are not prepared at all. And what I felt, and I think I probably share this feeling with many of you out there, is that when you lose a parent, it's just part of your childhood, part of your life just crumbles, because your parents, that parent, mother or father, has been such a staple, such a significant role, in your entire life. Since you were born and up to adulthood. So it just hits you really, really hard. And it can take quite some time to get over it. Over it is not really the best term, but to get through it. And that's what I want to talk about today. So when I lost my dad back in 2020, which we all know is the year of the pandemic. So I had to fly to Denmark. I had to fly from Los Angeles to Denmark in the beginning of the pandemic. So that alone was scary. And then, of course, you add on to that my dad is dying. He was on his deathbed. And, I tried to get everything together, and I tried to get out of here as soon as possible. And also the airport part was actually pretty easy, but there were some things with the flights. There were no direct flights. I think I had like 2 stops. So everything just took longer. And unfortunately, I did not make it in time. He passed away while I was still in the air. And of course, that was devastating on many levels. The fact that he passed away was devastating in itself. And then the added thing that I didn't make it. I really, really wanted to make it. I wanted to see him that last time. And, kind of started blaming myself a bit in terms of, I should have left sooner. Why didn't I leave sooner? I could have made it, and so forth. But when I arrived, so I did arrive on the 8th. When it had already happened. So what we did was that we traveled to where he was staying, and instead of actually seeing him alive the last days, hours or minutes before, what we did was that we got to visit him, open casket style. he wasn't in a casket because he was going to get cremated. And so it was just like he was, he was resting, like he was resting and he was sleeping in his bed. And I remember also being quite a little nervous about that because I actually never have seen open casket before. And, we were crying and it was just extremely emotional. But something happened when we walked into the room. Me and my sister, we walked in together. And when we walked in there, we saw him. Everything was just extremely peaceful. There was like a serenity in the room. We felt him in the room. So that last goodbye, that last viewing, if you will, made a huge difference as well. Other things that was extremely helpful was, of course, leaning on my spiritual practice. And at that time, I was practicing Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism, where we chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. I was doing that with my sister a lot. And we were reading some scriptures from the Lotus Sutra and, just other writings, passages that was very, very helpful, understanding life and death, that death is still life. It's just life in a different dimension. And they still live on. You might not believe that, or you might not know that. I am of that conviction, knowingness that we do live on. It's just in a different dimension. So, but it's still difficult because we still miss them. I still missed him. I still want him to be here. I want to give him a hug. So it was quite difficult. It was quite difficult. Very, very, very difficult. Even with the spiritual practice and getting the truth from the Buddhist practice, from the scriptures and so forth. It was still difficult. Another thing that we then did that was also extremely helpful was that I visited a very dear friend of mine with psychic abilities. And she's a very, very dear friend of mine. I call her my spiritual godmother. And she was actually able to connect with my dad on the other side. And the message that he had for me and for my sister, it was just so beautiful. It was so, so filled with love, the love that he had and of course still has for us. And our childhood wasn't the easiest, I would say. And there was neglect, there were disappointments, neglect, not like physical neglect, but I would say like emotional neglect. So it was difficult at times. And he also touched on that it was difficult for him to basically have two families. He had two families because after he divorced my mom, he remarried and had two other daughters, my half-sisters. So he touched on that, but just that message of love, we just felt it, and it was just such a beautiful thing. And of course, it's 6 years ago now, and I remember the first year, I was like kind of nervous. Oh my God, this is the anniversary of his passing, and I remember I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to be home by myself. I didn't know how I was going to feel, so I spent the day with a friend. But I actually felt fine. I felt fine. I reflected on him and our relationship, our love between us, daddy-daughter love, and it wasn't that as difficult as I thought it would be. And like every year, on that day, I think of him. However, this year, 2026, 6 years later, I had a different experience. It was completely different. all other years up to now, there have always been a sort of a sadness, even though I understand, he's on the other side. He's probably, watching over me, and we have the love, we have the memories and all that. There was still like some sadness there, even as we get through it and the years go by. Time heals, it really does. But this year is the first year where I authentically felt that today, Daddy, I celebrate you. I celebrate your transition into love, your transition into peace, your transition into wisdom, and love. Again, just so much love. And I felt it deep in my heart. I felt it in my spirit. That was the feeling tone of the 6-year anniversary of his passing, of his transition. And it was just a new thing to me. It was new to me that sadness had dissipated. So now I just feel love. I just feel that I can celebrate him where he is now and the journey that he is at now. And lots of that, of course, I will say has to do with my spiritual practice within the last 3 years, my meditation practice. I just keep growing. I just keep glowing and growing. Just into everything is just unfolding into just a higher frequency, a higher vibration. So I think a lot of that has to do with that as well. But as always, if you're going through hard times, if you're going through something difficult, if the passing, the transition of a loved one, a pet, a parent, a best friend, spiritual practice is the key, always.